Hi, and welcome to the Saved, Healed, and Made Whole podcast, where holistic health really can be simple, affordable, and attainable for you and your family. I am your host, Kayla J. Esteban. I am a biblical naturopathic doctor at Sozo Holistic Healing, where I work with natural-minded moms to find healing in mind, body, and spirit. So go grab your favorite cup of herbal tea, take a deep, relaxing breath, and we'll get started. Hello, and thank you for joining me. If this is your first time or if this has been one of many episodes that you've listened to, I am grateful for you taking the time to be here. And if this caught your eye because you are just having a bad day or going through a tough time, or whatever it is that's going on in your life that made you click on this episode, I just wanted to say that I am here for you and I am praying for you. And just a little side note, that's totally random, but it's actually raining right now as I'm recording this, and I'm not sure if the little tap tap of raindrops is getting picked up on my mic, so if it is, forgive me for that. But anyway, I wanted to share a verse today for this episode that is really helpful for me and just had some things that I wanted to share along with it. And this verse is Isaiah chapter 66, verse 13, that says, "As one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you." And just to give you a little context, the I in this verse is God. So if you can, just think back to a time you comforted your child when he or she was crying. What did you do? And I don't know about you, but maybe I can just go from my experience. Maybe you gave some hugs or some kisses. Maybe you were driving, so all you could use was your voice to comfort. Maybe you were, um, you know, maybe you were just present with your child. And maybe you were just silent. Sometimes in those moments, there isn't really anything to say that you haven't already said, and so you're just sitting there being silent and holding that space for your child's feelings. Maybe you felt your own feelings of sadness or helplessness mixed in too, and that's totally understandable. I think a lot of us have a hard time with our own feelings when our child has their feelings, the things that come up for us and our own kind of triggers or reactions to that. And we aren't perfect either. So sometimes we aren't able to be present. I've definitely been guilty of that. And I think everybody has. Maybe sometimes we're just going through our own stresses and we just can't handle someone else's big feelings well in that moment. Maybe we're in a rush, or maybe we're feeling really stressed or overwhelmed or something like that. You know, Sometimes our child's emotions, as important as they are, just can't take center stage in that moment for whatever reason. Or maybe we're just giving from an empty cup. Sometimes we're so drained and we haven't taken care of ourselves, and it's really hard to be compassionate and empathetic towards somebody else when we haven't been empathetic towards ourselves, right? And there's lots of other circumstances. Maybe you have to leave your child to be comforted by someone else because you need to get to work or you need to go to an appointment or something like that. And no matter what the situation is, whatever's going on in those times, I just want to say there is no shame in the times when you weren't able to be there as you might have wanted to. But just think back to a time when you actually really were able to be fully present with your child. I don't necessarily want to say like a time you feel proud of, but like a time when you feel like I did at least an okay job as a parent that time. So just think back to one of those times and when your child was really able to receive that comfort from you, and think about the love that you felt for your child while you were comforting them, and how probably nothing else really mattered in that moment but being there for your child. Like sometimes, the whole world just kind of falls away and it doesn't really matter what else is going on around you. You're just like present with your child. You're hearing their breathing, you're hearing your breathing, you're feeling the pressure of their little body while you're holding them, or whatever it is. Um, and if we can love our children despite all of our imperfections, can you imagine how much greater God loves us and wants to comfort us and has the capacity to comfort us. I think sometimes we don't see the comfort when it's available. Sometimes we reject it because we've been hurt in the past and we aren't ready to receive comfort. Or maybe we've been made to feel like we don't deserve it. Or maybe we've been made to see God in a different perspective. Maybe somebody kind of tainted that perspective of God and felt like God wasn't a comforter or just wasn't able to be that strength for us. But that comfort is always there, and God really is always there. And no matter what our own preconceptions or the things that other people have forced on us of misconceptions about God, I really do believe and see evidence of God waiting for us. And God really patiently waits for us to be ready to receive comfort. God's comfort does not expire. It doesn't get stale the longer we wait, right? Like there's no like, oops, I've been waiting for you to be comforted and you've been ignoring me for the past 6 months, so I'm not going to comfort you anymore. Like God doesn't say stuff like that. So all we need to do is to tell God what we're going through and ask for comfort. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it or we feel like we're not worthy of it and we don't realize that it really is just that simple. And then we wait and we see how God shows up with comfort in our lives. And if you're listening because you need comfort today, because of something that happened, maybe you had a bad day, maybe it's just been a really bad season. I don't know what it is, but there isn't just one solution. Sometimes we really do just need to ride out those painful feelings and comfort ourselves and allow ourselves to be comforted by God and by other loved ones. Um, there might also be times when we don't just want to sit there. Like sometimes we really do want to have it fixed or like we want to fix it. Sometimes it's like there is a healthy kind of sitting with our emotions that I think sometimes does need to happen in order to heal. But then there's other times where like we're past the sitting with it and now we're just marinating in it and we really need to focus on solutions. Um, Sometimes we really just want someone to listen and be present, but then other times um, we're kind of in maybe like if we're in a kind of chronic traumatic experience or if it's something that's really affecting our quality of life, right? Like we don't want to be sitting in it. We want to be rising up out of it. We don't want to be stuck in that rut of those feelings, right? Sometimes I think in our modern day life, our culture has thankfully put more of an emphasis on feelings, where I think other generations in the past kind of um, pushed feelings under the rug, right? So I think we've done a good job of pulling out our feelings, but sometimes I think we kind of over elevate our feelings at the expense of like solutions and actually moving past our feelings, right? And so sometimes we really do need to move past those feelings after a certain point. And it could be whatever your situation that is going on right now in your life or any of the lives of anybody listening. It could be something kind of minor, like a bad day. It could be something traumatic, like a car accident. That's kind of a little bit more on the minor side. Or maybe it's something really, really significant, like a long-term history of abuse in childhood or a really rough marriage for like the past decade or something like that. Um, I don't do comparative suffering, like I'm not going to tell anybody that their pain or their discomfort is any more or less important or valid than anybody else's. A bad day is still a bad day. Doesn't matter. And any emotions that come up in those days, no matter how long term or how short term or significant or minor, they're all valid. And so I don't want to really discount anything that anybody might be experiencing in this moment. But in my experience with the wide range of things that I've dealt with, it really is amazing the relief and the comfort that we get once those wounds start to heal. So for me personally, things that used to bother me before, I can really now respond to with patience and calm instead of defensiveness. And one of the things that I can really accredit to these feelings that I've been able to move past and kind of the recovery and the healing and wholeness is the techniques that I use in my revived naturopathic consultations to help with removing trapped emotions. And I use a strategy that combines muscle testing, prayer, magnetic energy, and it's kind of a combination, a mix of things that helps to remove these trapped emotions and really kind of just takes the weight off of whatever experience is going on. Like it doesn't feel so heavy. A lot of people describe kind of a lightness, or it just like it doesn't feel, they don't feel so stuck in those emotions. They kind of feel like they're able to move past them. And I love that this technique in these sessions are non-invasive. And if you're listening, if you don't live locally to me, it thankfully it does work just as well in a virtual session as it does in an in-person session. I've worked with plenty of people in both settings, and I've honestly never seen a difference in effectiveness, whether I'm working virtually or in person. So hopefully that sets anybody's mind at ease. If you live further away from me, it can be a bit of a process to explain all the details of how this works. So, if you're curious to find out more about removing trapped emotions in a session, you are welcome to check out the links below. You can either send me a personal email or you can also set up a free discovery call. If you want to also just check out the website page for the Revived Naturopathic Consultations, there is a whole frequently asked questions section down at the bottom. So if you also want to just start with that, and if you have any leftover questions, you're welcome to contact me. And removing trapped emotions from the body can really help with a lot of things. It can help with just less reactive behavior in our responses and a lot more peaceful mood, a lot more energy when people feel like these trapped emotions are removed and they have like a weight lifted off them. They feel like it's like lightness, they feel more energized and things like that. It can also help with having a stronger immune system, less pain and inflammation in the body. It can even help with chronic illnesses, especially autoimmune illnesses. There's a lot of relationship between like past trauma and trapped emotions and things like that with autoimmune issues. And trapped emotions have a huge effect on the daily functioning of our body and our mental health. So removing them, at least especially in my experience with my own personal life, like it becomes such a huge game changer, especially when trapped emotions are causing difficulties in our personal relationships or when they're causing chronic physical pain in certain areas of our bodies. Like when those emotions are gone or when that pain is just gone, like oh my goodness, it makes such a huge difference. Like when you can get up out of bed and just feel like night and day difference, it really, really helps just with our quality of life. So, like, for example, if you have chronic pain in your lower back that's tied to some trapped emotions from your past experiences, like when you get up out of bed and all of a sudden that pain just doesn't bother you, it's like all the things you can do, or when a certain situation all of a sudden doesn't give you paralyzing anxiety anymore. Like the doors that it opens is just, it's really incredible. Or, sometimes in my experience, the way that we react to things that people do is often because we're triggered by a memory or emotions of a past experience. So if you ever feel like you're just stuck in this cycle of like why do I keep coming back to this? Why do I keep re-experiencing this person in this romantic relationship, like this similar situation? Why do these certain kinds of people just keep gravitating towards me, or why do people just keep taking advantage of me? Things like that. It can be very stressful and very frustrating and create a lot of emotions. And so when you're able to kind of be liberated from that cycle and brought out of it, it can be really incredible to see what life can be outside of that cycle, right? And it is really a relief to know that those old wounds can be healed, so you don't have to carry that weight anymore, and you can start to feel a more long-term comfort and security. And so if you're hearing all this stuff and it's starting to kind of like resonate with you and it sounds like what you're really looking for, you are welcome to reach out to me. Like I said, you can check out the link for any questions, ask me any questions, even if you just want to just shoot me a message and say, hey, this is like what I'm dealing with. Does this sound like something that you can work with me on? Absolutely. Like, I'm happy just to chat with you and to get to know your situation a little bit better. And if I can't help you, I would be very happy to redirect you to somebody that I know that is in my network that might be a better service to you than the services that I'm able to provide. So I'm always happy to chat with you, get to know you, even pray with you if that's what you are needing today. So thank you very much for joining me, and have a very blessed rest of your day.